Hello, good morning. I'm Michael Stöpel, the User Services Librarian at the American University of Paris. It is a pleasure to be here today. I want to say thank you to Michael Dowling and the American Library Association for inviting me to talk about this book, Faculty-Librarian Collaborations and the Integration of Information Literacy into Disciplinary Courses. Before I start, let me introduce myself, where I come from and who I am. Like said, I'm Michael Stöpel, User Services Librarian. I work at the American University of Paris, as you can see on the slide. We are a small liberal arts college in Paris on the left bank of the River Seine, not far away from the Eiffel Tower. On the slide you can see the atrium, the new library reading room and the new learning commons. We are located in the 7th arrondissement, 500 meters away from the Eiffel Tower. We have 1,000 students attending classes. I teach information literacy and help students do research. I'm highly influenced by the ACRL immersion program. In other words, I put emphasis on constructive learning, backward design, and learning outcome theory. One of my leitmotifs in library sciences in my daily life is to connect the user to information, to connect to the user, to the student, to the faculty. I believe that collaboration is the way to connect to faculty, and it is key to become partners with faculty. My colleague Yildiz Beklayeva, head librarian from the American University of Central Asia, puts this very well when she says that libraries need to change their role from a service provider role and to become partners on campus. So in my presentation today, I will focus on this book. And here I want to say thank you to my partners in crime, to Samantha Goodby, Xan Goodman, and Livia Piotto for all their help with the book. And without their help, this book would not come into being. Driving question for today's presentation will be: how did we integrate information literacy into disciplinary courses? How did we collaborate? How did we partner up to integrate information literacy into disciplinary courses? The outline of my presentation will be then to tell the story of the Faculty-Librarian collaboration book and how this book came into being. So it started with this workshop in Paris in 2017 called Co-Design. Then we published the book Faculty-Librarian Collaborations in 2020. And at the end of the presentation, I want to come back to an ongoing study where I ask myself and also my colleagues where they are with the co-designed courses that they had designed in 2017, and I wanted to know where they are today. So this will be the outline for today. So how did everything get started? It started with this workshop. There were 4 main ingredients that went into that workshop. The first one was the promotion of the information literacy framework. The second ingredient was to bring in faculty librarians together. So it was a faculty librarian driven workshop. The third ingredient was to think about a project that the faculty librarian partners would bring to the workshop. So it was a project-driven workshop. And the last ingredient that we thought was very important was to make it a very active workshop in order to have faculties and librarians engage with the framework, to think about syllabi design, and to think about course development. Of course, the co-design workshop idea did not start alone in my head. It started in conversation with colleagues and friends, and I want to say thank you to the Amical Information Literacy Initiatives Committee, Chris, Livia, Tatev, Grassi, Stella, and Aziz for all their help and inspiration. Also, a big thank you to Amical. Amical is a consortium of 29 American-modeled liberal arts institutions outside the United States, from Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Amical provided not only the platform for the Amical Information Literacy Committee to come together, but it also provided the funding, and we want to say thank you for that support. But back to the co-design workshop, some more details. The workshop took place in Paris in 2017. It was a 2-day workshop. It was about planning and implementation of a course for the following academic year. In total, 14 librarian faculty teams attended the workshop. The courses ranged from the first year seminars to graduate level courses in different subjects and disciplines. Here you can see an overview of the 14 projects, and you see the broad range of courses, of disciplines, starting from history, communications, business. The courses ranged from the first year seminars to graduate level courses. Here are some pictures of the workshop. As you can see, it was a very collaborative workshop. Teams were sitting together at large tables, and the workshop facilitators encouraged activities and conversations among participants and teams. You can see as well how we tried to use whiteboards and gallery works to make the workshops days very interactive and to foster exchange amongst us. The workshop was also then seen as a big success, as the many feedback we got from the participants. They said many times that the framework was something seen as a tool conducive to collaboration, with a language that librarians and faculty can easily share. It seemed also that the framework was a perfect fit with the disciplines. Participants also encouraged us to see the co-design workshop as a success because they saw the opportunity to co-teach and to value co-teaching. The sessions then went overall very well, and students, of course, showed improvement in their learning. One participant put this very well, and this was Paul Love from the Al-Akhawain University in Morocco. He said that the co-design approach gave us an ideal academic platform for collaboration, while the framework for information literacy served as a point of departure and a roadmap toward advancing and reaching our common objective. Now I would like to jump into 2 concrete case studies of the book in order to showcase how faculty librarian teams integrated information literacy into their courses. The first case study will be from Morocco Al-Akhawain University in Ifran, and the second one will be from the American University of Kuwait. Here I want to say many thanks to Dr. Paul Love and Aziz El Hassani to accept that I can showcase their case study during today's presentation. Some thoughts that Paul and Aziz had shared before coming to the workshop were that they wanted to revise their syllabi during the workshop. They wanted to focus on one course entitled The History of the Arab World, and they wanted to enhance, of course, the student academic performances, but also to reach out to a large population of students. So during the workshop in Paris, then Aziz and Paul moved away from a standalone workshop to a general education course. They decided to move away from a lecture-based workshop to a embedded outcome-based information literacy session. There were actually 3 of them. They agreed to focus on 2 frames of the framework. The first one was the scholarship as conversation frame, and the second one was the searching as strategic exploration frame. They also decided to integrate 2 new assignments to the course. The first assignment was a comparative book review assignment, which worked very well with the history assignment in Dr. Paul's class. And the second assignment was a student revised syllabus at the end of the course, where students were looking at the syllabi provided by Dr. Paul Love and Aziz El Hassani, and they gave suggestions to that. As a final element of the experience, they also added the assessment efforts. One was a qualitative feedback by students, and the other one was a post-assessment of information literacy sessions. In the post-assessment of information literacy sessions, the students said then that they did quite well actually. They really enjoyed it, and they said that the library sessions went very well and were of value for 95% of the students. 38% said that the workshops were useful to their research, and in the future 42% would say they will use again the library, and it increased also the confidence in research for 71% of the students. These results have to be seen in the cultural context of Morocco, I believe. Hassani is pointing out at the beginning of his chapter that 73% of students have never heard of any library initiative in Morocco in public universities. This might have changed ever since, but I think these results are really of value and very good results to take away from this success story in Al Akhawain University. The second case study is the example from the American University of Kuwait. Here I want to say thank you to Stavros Haji Solomou for agreeing that I can use his example for the presentation. There was also Zainab, the information literacy librarian, at the workshop, but she has ever since left Kuwait, so she's not part of the project anymore. And Zainab were confronted with a couple of issues before coming to the workshop in Paris. So they reported out on high Wikipedia use and high Google use by undergraduate students, issues of plagiarism, that many times students would not come to the librarians to ask for help for research. And another issue was that apparently students asking other students to write their papers for extra money or extra payment. So for Zainab and Stavros, these were the issues to be addressed during their information literacy session they wanted to implement on the first year experience course. Not only these issues, but they also wanted to get a better idea of the overall purpose of the course and align the course outcomes with the university mission. So that was something very important for them, what they highlighted. So they went from a one-day workshop in Kuwait to a general education course called Social Issues in Kuwait. They moved away then during the workshop from a traditional workshop to 2 embedded information literacy sessions. integrating two frameworks similar to Morocco scholarship as conversation and searching as strategic exploration. They, with their assignments, they looked at different assignments than Morocco, so they looked into a reflective research log and final student presentations as their assignments. They decided on a pre and a post assessment of information literacy. They were looking into the famous TATIL information literacy assessment. Then they were relying on self-assessment in their project. This was then the second case study. I want to come back right now to a higher level, a more general level about the courses, how they worked out. And there were then three general positive outcomes. The first one was, of course, that the information literacy improved. The integration into the curriculum improved and was shared with the faculty. The collaboration also between faculty and librarians improved, which is also a very positive outcome. And of course, the most important one in all education is that the students learned, that their performances went up. Of course, all that glitters is not golden. Not all the workshop participants and co-design courses worked out well. There were many challenges, of course, during the implementation period and phase, and also during the teaching. Now I would like to focus on the challenges to faculty librarian projects, and I split them up into challenges that occurred in the fall 2017 and the challenges that we see more today. In 2017, the biggest challenge was basically classroom time and time in general. The fall semester many times is characterized by lots of teaching, lots of rushing around, and so there was a huge impact by time reduction and time in general on the collaborative project and to run the co-design courses. Then there was also an issue with the faculty librarian partnerships. Not all of the 14 faculty librarian partnerships worked out well in the end, and so that was a factor that challenged the collaboration. It was also important to see that the co-design courses, which basically changed and modified the syllabi of a course, were not necessarily approved by the department and hence had issues with implementation then in the fall. Today, however, like these challenges are a bit different. Today in 2020 and 2021, these faculty librarian partnerships still exist, but there's also the challenge then that faculty librarians were on the move. They might take on new responsibilities, become head librarians, or start teaching in different institutions. So that was one challenge for those collaborative projects. Another issue was that, like in Stavros' case, the first year experience was very well designed, and in a way they were then victim of their success because other faculty members were interested in their project, but Stavros and Zainab only had like two hands to provide for the teaching, and so there was that challenge actually to export that project to other courses. And the last, of course, challenge in the last 2 years, I would say right now, is the pandemic, of course. Many things have changed, like in library organizations, services, policies. Teaching had to move online, back to hybrid. So these new challenges were then having an impact on these faculty librarian projects. But I want to move right now to the last part of my presentation, the faculty librarian projects, where they are today. In a way, it's touching the question of sustainability of those projects, and everything that I'm going to report out right now is an ongoing study with the participants of the workshop and the co-authors of the book. where I asked them actually where they are today with their project and if the idea of the co-design has spread out to other projects and what they think is the future of their projects. What I heard then in the interviews were basically 5 scenarios that still live on today with regard to these faculty librarian collaborations. The first one is that the most negative one, that's in blue, so the co-design course is put on hold. There's no co-design anymore. The second scenario is that the co-design course is on hold, but somehow either like the faculty or the librarian continue with another project and the idea of the co-design. But the co-design project of 2017 is basically not working. The third scenario is then the green scenario, where basically everything is still running since 2017. The co-design course was set up by the same faculty and librarian, and it's still taught by both of them together. The fourth scenario is a very interesting one with regard to sustainability, because the design right here made this step forward and the integration that it was handed over to another faculty and another librarian, and the integration was still sustained with this change. The last scenario, which is also very interesting, of course, is that the mindset of the participants not only made them continue like the co-design course, but also that they carried on that idea to other projects, other departments, and other colleagues. To give you a better idea about where they are then today, I tried to visualize this into a infographic where you see that the workshop started in 2017 on the left, and we had 14 faculty librarian teams coming to AAP to work on their courses, and then we see in green the ongoing courses, in blue the courses that were put on hold, and in orange the new project that came out. This visual comes out of the interviews that I conducted during the fall semester 2021. It's not complete, but what's interesting is many times that it's not only like an ongoing project, but many times it's an ongoing project and a new project, and rarely it is just like one single continuation of the workshops. So this brings me to the end of this presentation and my last slide, and I want to come back to the opening quote by Yildiz Bekla-Laeva about partnering for transformation. I think that we are in a way damned and destined for collaboration. It could be also a question right here. Damned, as I believe that we have no choice. We need to partner up in order to stay relevant. And when I say we, I talk about the librarians. And I think as well that we librarians are destined to collaborate. We work in an interdisciplinary level, which makes us by default great campus partners. I believe as well that librarians accumulate lots of transversal knowledge and skills, which made them actually also very good campus partners. With this claim, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.